This is a video about a hike from Ramona Falls to the Eagle Creek Trailhead in the Columbia River Gorge in 1974 from July 13th to July 16th. And it was a Boy Scout Troop 271. We were supposed to start at Timberline Lodge. I had hiked from Timberline Lodge to the Columbia River twice during the summer of 1973 without any problems. But in 1974, deep snow and windfalls required us to shorten our hike to between Ramona Falls and the Eagle Creek Trailhead, a total of 37 miles. The Little Muddy Sandy route was not established yet, the one that goes way up the Little Muddy Sandy and then gets up to Bald Mountain that way. So we had to do the switchbacks up to the top of Bald Mountain and then drop down Bald Mountain to Lolo Pass. Lolo Pass was clear. The switchbacks down were not clear, as you saw previously. And so it was quite hard work for these young teenage Boy Scouts to backpack over this trail. So from Lolo Pass, you begin a 4-mile traverse to Salvation Spring. The 4-mile traverse to Salvation Spring during this trip was buried under heavy snow and windfalls. And I made the decision, because I was the oldest scout on this trip, I had a rope with me, which you can see up on my backpack, to keep going on a traverse and keep climbing over the logs and the risk of slipping and sliding on the snow, it would be much better if we went up to the top of the ridge line and just followed the ridge line from pass to pass, and that would avoid being required to climb over all of the windfalls and to potentially slip and slide in the snow. Salvation Spring Camp was our camp for the night of July 13th and getting up the next day on the 14th. There is a trail from here down to Lost Lake, which I had done previously, which is a pretty steep trail. But this is where we were going to camp. As you can see, there was quite a bit of snow in this camp. The only exposed ground was in the tree wells. So we had to, a lot of people were just like hunkered down into the tree wells to have a dry piece of ground to sleep on overnight. From here, it's 12 miles to Wadham Lake. This is the next morning. This is July 14th, and we're heading out. And the thing about this area along the Pacific Crest Trail is that it goes between various peaks. And again, we were climbing up and kind of switchbacking up to get away from some of the deeper snow. We went up to a place above Salvation Spring Camp called Preacher's Peak. Preacher's Peak was named by R.S. Shelley of the U.S. Forest Service for his father, Troy Shelley, a well-known minister of Upper Hood River Valley. Shelley Sr. had a crippled foot. About the turn of the century, he rode a horse to the summit, and his son named it in his honor. R.S. Shelley was in charge of the construction of the Eagle Creek Trail, which plays a big role in how we got out. I conducted a brief church service, ironically between Preacher's Peak and Devil's Pulpit. This is a viewpoint looking down on Bull Run. Unfortunately, a lot of our film was overexposed, so you can't really, there's a view of Mount Hood from there, and there's this rock slide that a lot of the Boy Scouts like to climb around on. Unfortunately, though, the overexposure created a problem. Then there was Devil's Pulpit, and this is a prominent shelf or bench on the east slope of Preacher's Peak. at the summit of Cascade Range. It was named when R.S. Shelley of the Forest Service named Preacher's Peak for his father. The remark was made that if the preacher were there, the devil wouldn't be far away. This is a view of Mount Hood from Sunshine Rock, and the Boy Scouts really enjoyed this view of the Upper Hood River Valley, and it's kind of a panoramic view of them hanging out and enjoying as much of this hike as they could. It was a pretty exhausting hike, going through all that snow and with all those windfalls they had to climb over. This is me explaining the route to Mr. Graves, who was one of the adult leaders. There was Mr. Graves and Dr. Hickman, and it was quite an eye-opener for them. This was a Ruckle Ridge in the Columbia Gorge. That's the Eagle Creek drainage area that you're looking down. And we were up on the shoulder of Indian Mountain. Indian Mountain, the Pacific Crest Trail along that stretch was an abandoned stretch of Forest Service Road N20, a road that led over to Larch Mountain. And you can see after a day and a half plus of struggling through the snow and over logs, people are enjoying these open slopes where there's no snow and there's no logs. No windfalls or anything like that for them to climb over. From here, we hiked down into Wadham Lake and spent the night there. And then from Wadham Lake, we went down the Eagle Creek Trail to 7.5 Mile Camp. The next day, on July 15th, we got up and we started to hike out the Eagle Creek Trail. And this is Tunnel Falls on the Eagle Creek Trail. We had lunch at High Bridge, and which is kind of a cool place to hang out because there's a bridge over a big gap. Young men were pretty excited to see a woman. They hadn't seen one in a couple of days, and so there was a Forest Service worker that came up to High Bridge. That's Rainbow Falls on Eagle Creek, and then that goes underneath High Bridge, and then there's a deep chasm underneath High Bridge, which is a view of that from there. There was quite a surprise for a lot of the young guys because there was a gentleman that came down the trail that was kind of a burly fellow, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, we wish we were that tough." Next place we stopped to take a look was Punchbowl Falls, and Punchbowl Falls is getting pretty close to leaving the Eagle Creek Trail, and it is a very famous waterfall on the Eagle Creek, along the Eagle Creek Trail. This is the lower Punchbowl Falls. There's a little side trail that goes down there. A lot of people, one of the Boy Scouts liked to go down there and kind of clean up before they were going to head out to the very end of the hike. They were basking in the sun. There was no snow for them to contend with. So that was a very enjoyable and restful morning. And then as they come out on the Eagle Creek Trail, they're celebrating. We did it. We've gone the 37 miles. And you can see there's signals of the Troop 271, Jennings Lodge. There's a sign for the Eagle Creek Trail with some of the mileage on it. There was different things expressed about everything. There's thumbs up and thumbs down. This young man grew up to become the mayor of Oregon City. There's the Eagle Creek Trail number 440. And showing the mileage to Metlaco Falls, High Bridge, 4 Mile Camp, Tunnel Falls, 7.5 Mile Camp, and Wadham Lake. And then that's Dr. Hickman. He actually said at the end of the hike that he thought the end of the hike was rather anticlimactic. Everybody's sort of resting up and waiting for the cars to come pick us up. And that was the hike of the Troop 271 from Ramona Falls to the Eagle Creek trailhead in 1974. Thank you very much.